Tonight, 911, anyone? Hundreds of requests for ambulances are going unanswered in Saskatchewan. And escape at last. The first Canadians are able to leave Gaza.
Difficult situation to choose between leaving with my own family, small family, and leave my parents behind.
Plus, Halloween gets a bad rap for overloading us with sugar. But what about all of that garbage? Some Regina kids are recycling the remnants from trick-or-treating.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
Tuesday, November 7th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Natasha Lipney. Sam McKaig is away tonight. More than 1,000 Saskatchewan people who called for an ambulance didn't get one this year. The official opposition obtained that information through Freedom of Information, and that put the government on the defensive today. Saskatchewan Health Authority data shows more than 1,100 instances when ambulances were unavailable between February 14th and October 2nd. That doesn't include data from places that use private ambulance services like Saskatoon and Prince Albert. These records show 323 Regina residents called for an ambulance but didn't get a response, the most of any community in the province.
It's incredibly concerning. These are our loved ones, these are our family members that are laying on the floor waiting for care in an emergency. And this government needs to take responsibility for that, and they need to take concrete actions to fix the problem.
We know that there are health human resources challenges in the area of healthcare across a number of designations right across the country. I would say this is probably one of them as well, with respect to having the number of paramedics that we do need to properly staff all of our ambulance services across this province, and so that's probably would be our biggest challenge.
Hindley says the government is focusing on recruiting and training more paramedics. The NDP says paramedics are often tied up in hospitals, watching over patients stuck in hallways. Saskatchewan's premier wants to stop Ottawa from cutting funding deals directly with municipalities. He and other premiers are even threatening to bring legislation to that effect. This comes as the federal government is giving out billions to cities and towns to encourage the construction of new affordable homes. CBC's Marina von Stackelberg reports.
Canada's premiers say any federal money to build housing should go through them first. They're threatening to pass laws to prevent Ottawa from funding cities directly.
There's a shared concern that there is a federal government that is increasingly looking at the potential political benefits, for lack of a better term, of circumventing the provinces and landing in a Toronto or Vancouver and dropping a housing program strictly for political gain.
It comes as Ottawa has begun cutting deals with cities to build more homes fast. Up for grabs, $4 billion.
And if you're coming into a province with projects, then we'll ask, I guess, to be involved. But if that's not working, then we'll legislate that we need to be involved.
The premiers want what Quebec has. A law there says money from Ottawa for municipalities must flow through the provincial government first. Canada's housing minister says this is the first time he's heard the premier's concerns.
I see no reasonable excuse to stop working directly with municipalities if we're actually achieving progress with the strategy that we've adopted.
The federal money is contingent on cities changing their zoning bylaws to allow for denser housing that can be approved more quickly.
The sooner that we can get the funds from the federal government in a manner that's easy and quick is what I'm looking for.
Halifax's mayor says Nova Scotia's government has slowed down federal funding for transit before. He doesn't want to see that happen with housing.
The province didn't match the money, and it took them 8 months or so just to pass through the money from the federal government. So does it slow things down if you go through the province? Of course it does.
Again, just as we're starting to get momentum, just as the housing accelerator was starting to show progress, we now have provinces trying to block it. And I think that's unfortunate.
Hundreds of applications for the federal money have been submitted. 7 deals have been reached. The housing minister says he won't let anything slow him down from building desperately needed housing fast. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
U.S. authorities have dropped criminal charges against Dawn Walker. This comes after she pleaded guilty to charges in Canada. In provincial court last week, the Saskatoon mother pleaded guilty to kidnapping her child and fleeing south of the border using forged documents. In the summer of 2022, Walker and her child vanished from Saskatoon, only to be found safe in Oregon City. Authorities discovered Walker had orchestrated their disappearance. She was given a 1-year conditional sentence and 18 months probation. American prosecutors now say they've dismissed charges of felony aggravated identity theft and misdemeanor identity theft. The Regina Police Service has named its new chief. Farooq Hassan Sheikh will be the city's 15th police chief. He's coming from Alberta. He had been the chief of the sheriff's service there since 2021. He's replacing Evan Bray, who retired in June. Regina's mayor says Sheikh's 31 years of law enforcement experience in Canada and the United Kingdom will help the city.
He was in the policing in the United Kingdom during riots, during austerity measures, the 2012 Olympics, and so has a real vast array of policing type of experience. And so we like that big city element to come, because in our city we're a little big town or a big little town, and that idea that we know that the RPS are facing more and more dangerous and risky situations. He would have experienced a number of that.
The mayor says Sheikh cares about community policing, diversity, and mental health programs. His first day with the Regina Police Service will be December 1st. From police officers to judges, how people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder are treated in the criminal justice system is one topic of discussion at a first-of-its-kind conference in Saskatoon this week. 500 researchers, policymakers, caregivers, and individuals with FASD are taking part in the multi-day event. Dr. Mansfield Mella is a professor of psychiatry at the University of Saskatchewan. He's researching how to better screen and support people with FASD who get in trouble with the law. He says at least 1 in 5 inmates have FASD.
We looked at what are the reasons why individuals with FASD end up crisscrossing the path of the courts. The majority of it centers around lack of awareness that they have FASD, a misattribution of their presentation with people who are criminals, and more importantly, the lack of support.
Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is a lifelong disability that affects the brain and body of people who were exposed to alcohol in the womb. People with FASD are often impulsive and fail to understand consequences. In Regina today, we got our first look at plans for 2 major construction projects. Federated Cooperatives Limited held an open house where it presented models of its proposed renewable diesel facility and canola processing plant. AGT Foods is partnering with the company on the canola crushing plant. It's expected to supply half of the feedstock needed to produce 15,000 barrels of biodiesel per day. The company president says that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
I say agriculture is one of the biggest polluters in the world, yet we're society's solution to climate change. This project is about a new economy, and it's a project about the demand of the new consumer. And I think that, to be able to, in one fell swoop, take a million tons of canola, produce 1 billion liters of renewable diesel, drop that diesel back into the tractors that produce the canola. Think of the canola fields of Saskatchewan like the Saudi Arabian oil fields. Only every August we harvest a new oil field. That's what this project is all about.
Construction on some parts of the $2.5 billion project could begin as early as next summer. That work will continue until 2027. Revelers in a few Saskatchewan cities will once again have a safe way to get home this holiday season thanks to volunteer drivers. Operation Red Nose kicked off its 15th year in the province today. The nationwide campaign enlists volunteers to transport people and their vehicles safely to their next destination. All proceeds go to local organizations. The Saskatoon Millennium Lions Club is one of the beneficiaries this year. The club's president shared why she supports Operation Red Nose.
Well, it's certainly doing a good thing. I have a personal reason, is I lost my grandfather to a drunk driver. So that's my reason, and unfortunately a story that many people can share in this province is having lost a loved one.
Operation Red Nose will be available November 27th through December 31st in the Battlefords, Prince Albert, Yorkton, and Saskatoon. It can get up to 40 calls a night, and it needs volunteers to pick up all of those partiers. People can apply online to help before the service kicks off. And yesterday, we were showing you images of green grass in Regina. Now you can see nothing but this, snow on snow. Upwards of 10 centimeters fell on the city today, enveloping Regina and other parts of southern Saskatchewan in winter once again. Ethan Williams joins us after the break to help us make sense of this sudden shift. As the economy and supply chains continue to rebuild from the pandemic, there are more and more trucks on Canada's highways. This has come with challenges. For example, in British Columbia, there has been a rash of collisions between trucks and highway overpasses. CBC's John Hernandez did a ride along with a lifelong trucker and instructor in an effort to find out why.
Now, trucks got to stay in this lane always.
87-year-old Doug Clark has just about seen it all behind the wheel, and it's not always pretty.
And yet, so many vehicles hit this one that right here is one of them. Yeah.
In a short ride along with the truck driver turned instructor, we pass 3 consecutive overpasses that have been struck by semi-truck trailers in just over a year, including this one hit just last week.
Mainly it's that thing we call distracted driving. People aren't paying attention to what they're seeing, or they're thinking of other things rather than driving trucks.
Just last month in North Vancouver, an unpermitted driver struck this overpass and fled. The company was suspended for a week and issued a $3,500 fine.
But it disappoints me, yes.
It takes Doug Clark about a second to assess what went wrong.
The beginning of that was he should have measured how high that is.
Clark calls it a lapse in the basic fundamentals of truck driving.
So the planning has to be how high is the load. That's number one. How high is the load? So the second one is what route can I take that will allow me to pass under it.
That's why he's calling for regular retraining or proficiency tests for commercial drivers to keep standards up, and stiffer fines for violations.
There should be a substantial cost factor involved.
For Clark, it's not the new drivers he's worried about, it's the old ones who weren't tested by today's standards. He sees the shortcomings when veteran drivers apply to be teachers at his school.
I get drivers here all the time that cannot drive well enough as instructor wannabes to pass the road tests that our students pass.
Bad habits that can lead to worse outcomes on BC's busiest roads. John Hernandez, CBC News, Langley.
When is it time to break out the winter jacket, or any jacket for that matter? It depends on who you ask. If you're the parent of a teenager, it seems jackets are optional no matter how cold it gets. Why the diverging opinions? Our colleagues in Calgary went on the hunt for answers.
Why choose a t-shirt when there's snow on the ground?
I have a jacket in my locker. I just didn't want to wear it right now.
If you look good, you feel good, even though you're freezing.
They want to show their fit off.
Like if you wear snow pants to school, you're probably gonna get a little bit of backlash.
It's just 2 sweaters. It's not too bulky, and you can just shove it in your bag if you're too warm.
I'd rather be cold and have a cute vest than be wearing a bulky jacket. Just looking clunky.
And it makes my bag too big, so I just wear 2 sweaters to school, even in minus 30 weather.
Do you ever regret your choices?
Maybe sometimes.
Yeah. If you're ever stranded waiting for the bus and you're wearing just a t-shirt and a sweatshirt, that's brutal. My mom packs the stuff in my backpack for me, but I don't wear it.
If my mom tells me to dress warm, then I don't regret it. If I don't dress warm.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams joins us now. So yesterday we were arrogantly, there's no other way to put it, comparing our weather to the West Coast.
Yep.
Today, we're talking winter jackets. I feel we owe an apology to our viewers. I don't know about you.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were maybe thinking that things were going to be a little bit more rainy than snowy today. And boy, did that ever change once we got into the kind of mid-morning hours. Regina specifically, did we ever get the snow? A couple of reliable weather reporters in Regina reporting 13.5 centimeters in northwest Regina, and that's at NWR Weather on X. And that is what 13.5 centimeters looks like on the patio there. There was also a report of, around 10:30 this morning at least, of downtown Regina, of about 10 centimeters on the ground. And Craig Bain broke out the ruler to measure that. And even right now, we are still seeing a bit of snow in the Regina area. Yeah, this was supposed to be mostly rain falling earlier this morning, but temperatures just cool enough at the surface and a bit above that it all changed over to snow. Snowfall warnings, though, have dropped off, but we are still seeing some heavier pockets just north of the city right now. And I think as we head through the overnight tonight, there is a good chance that a lot of south and central, especially in eastern sections, and even through the day tomorrow, could still be seeing a little bit of snow here and there. But tomorrow afternoon, there is the chance that we may actually get some clearing kind of in the dry sector of this low pressure system, maybe even both for Regina, Saskatoon. The north, though, still seeing periods of cloud and snow tomorrow and even into Thursday morning. That system going to be sliding to the south as we head through Thursday afternoon. Things trying to clear out again as we head into Friday, but the cloud cover seems to be pretty persistent, maybe until the weekend. Only a couple of more centimeters expected tomorrow, probably highest amounts again in the Kamsack-Kenora area. May get up to 5 centimeters there through the day tomorrow. For northern Saskatchewan, heaviest snow from a system tonight looks to be in the Laloche, Isle Cross, Buffalo Narrows area, maybe around 5 or so centimeters, but the rest of the north relatively unscathed. Things are going to get windy, especially in southwestern Saskatchewan as we head through the overnight hours tonight, and much of south and central, a little bit breezy tomorrow, especially gusty in the south. I think these numbers are probably undershot just a little bit. We may be in the 60 to 70 kilometer an hour range heading through tomorrow afternoon, but things starting to drop off as we head toward the end of the work week. Now, Regina, again, maybe some breaks of sun here and there tomorrow. A few flurries or some light snow, but quite windy. Breezy still Thursday as that cloud cover sticks around as we head into Friday. But then temperatures jumping above freezing and jumping above normal as we head to the back end of the weekend and into next week. Saskatoon, I think you have the better shot of not seeing any moisture tomorrow and maybe getting some clearing skies too. Bit breezy for you too. And really, this forecast showing that your daytime highs could stay above the freezing mark really all through this next week here, with the overnight lows pretty close to the freezing mark. So yes, the winter wallop back today, Natasha, but maybe some West Coast weather by the time we get into the weekend.
Oh goodness, there's that term again. Let's not make any promises.
Did I jinx it?
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, with the weather we had today, I guess I shouldn't be asking, is it that time of year already? City workers were putting up festive decorations around Saskatoon today. You'll have to wait a bit to see them glow, though. The lights only get turned on after Remembrance Day. We'll be back after the break.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
Some Canadians stuck inside Gaza were finally able to leave today. Once they get into Egypt, they'll be bused 40 kilometers to Cairo. Then they'll have just days to get home or make other arrangements. CBC's Tom Perry has the latest.
There were 80 Canadian names on the list published by the Palestinian Border Authority today. That's 80 Canadians who were given permission to cross from Gaza through the Rafah crossing into Egypt. Now, there were no Canadians on any of the lists published last week by the Border Authority. That did lead to questions as to why Canada had none of its citizens coming over when other countries were getting their citizens out of Gaza. The government says that it had been hoping to have more Canadians. Canada's ambassador to Egypt said initially, before the border shut down unexpectedly over the weekend, the plan was for 2 groups of Canadians to come through, one of over 200. So instead of having more than 400 Canadians coming through, today we saw just 80 Canadian names on that list. Now, CBC News did have a freelance camera operator on the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing. He spoke to some of the Canadians making that journey, and here's some of what they had to say.
I was able to get my 2 daughters and my wife names on the Canadian list after a lot of trials. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my parents' names and my sister's names on the list as well. So I left them in Gaza in such a horrible situation. So I call upon all the Canadians related to the government or the foreign ministry to work on getting the first family out of Gaza as well, because I was in such a difficult situation to choose between leaving with my own family, small family, and leave my parents behind.
And for those Canadians, getting through the border crossing is just one leg of their journey. They're going to be met up with buses from the Canadian Embassy. They'll be brought here to Cairo. They'll have 3 days to get their papers in order, and after that, they've got to move on either to Canada or elsewhere, but that does still leave hundreds of other Canadians still in Gaza who are trying to get out, trying to get to safety. Tom Perry, CBC News, Cairo.
And Ethan is back with another look at our forecast.
It might be a little bit foggy tonight in Regina and southern Saskatchewan as temperature sits around -2 or so. And a few flurries possible too, but we're not looking at any huge accumulation from the snowfall. Tomorrow morning, a few of those flurries still lingering, and keep in mind those winds starting to pick up. So keep that in mind as you head out the door. Still going to be windy by the afternoon, but with the possibility of at least a little bit of sunshine in Regina as we sit just below freezing. Saskatoon again, similar thing for you. These fog patches should be burning off as we head through the overnight hours, leading to a mix of sun and cloud by the morning. By the noon hour, we may even just see mostly sunny skies, but the wind's still pretty gusty there too, Natasha. So it'll be a nice day, but we'll pay for it with that wind.
Okay, thank you, Ethan.
You bet.
While many of us are still working our way through a giant stash of Halloween candy, some Regina students are trying to keep the wrappers out of the garbage. With more on their recycling efforts, here's the Douglas Park Green Team.
Chocolate mixed together? Well, if they have candy wrappers, just don't go throwing them in the garbage or something like that. Maybe like baggage them up or make a specific spot so you can bring them to our school here.
So we, as the Douglas Park School Green Team, we wanted to incentivize the community to bring their Halloween wrappers to come and drop them off, and they can be entered into a draw to win a gift card.
Normally the candy wrappers we would throw out because I don't know what else to do with them, so this worked out really well and the timing worked out really well.
Recycling is important because if it just went in the garbage, it would be taken to like the dump, and then it would really be bad because like animals could get stuck in it and everything.
It feels amazing because I'm able to do something for this community, and it feels great.
It's exciting. I really love this. I hope we get the community on board. We had a big snowstorm today. I think our turnout would have been more if it hadn't snowed. But it's exciting. I really want to get people involved. It doesn't take much to just save your stuff to recycle, and then you can win a gift card if you come participate with us.
I like the Green Team because I really like saving the environment, and I want to have a world for like my children and everything so they can have a good world to live in.
They're here to do good, and they are doing good, and we're so proud of them.
I think I will have to swing by. Well, that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask, or you can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan and I will be back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.